Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wheel to Wheel podcast brought to you by AbsoluteMotorsport.com and the Alloy TV. I'm James Casey, and joining me today is James Baker.
Hello.
What we're going to be doing is talking through, obviously, the Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend, as well as the F2 support and a bit of news regarding Liberty Media's plans for the future of F1. And actually, we've got a bit of news from the gaming world as well. So what we're going to start off with is actually that gaming news. We'll look at the Bahrain preview towards the end of this one. So obviously last season there was the launch of the F1 eSports series, and it was widely held that it was a pretty big success. There were one or two niggling issues, but overall it seemed to be quite popular. And obviously it was quite exciting as well in the final. This season, a bit of a expansion of it, and they've gone with something that's pretty ambitious, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I do like the approach that the F1 eSports is looking at right now. There's still a few things that, I have been in my mind, and I've been like, oh, well, maybe they should change this and whatever. But that could be the whole learning curve and the growing process, I suppose. But one notable name isn't being involved. We should probably note that they've now got the Formula One teams, which are now going to be kind of as almost nearly ambassadors for F1 teams, or if you like, they're racing for F1 teams, but in the esports concept. Yeah, so they're not actually racing for them. But every team is taking part apart from one, Ferrari. So yeah, that's a bit annoying in my opinion, but that only means there's 18 spots up for grabs in this year's final, I suppose. So it could be very exciting.
Yeah, I think obviously there's a bit of controversy that we will come on to later regarding the F1 teams being involved. But in general, I think that sounds really cool. The idea that these esports drivers can qualify and then they go to a pro draft and then they're chosen by a Formula One team. Personally, I think that just is really cool, basically. I mean, I obviously played the F1 games, as do, I'm sure, pretty much all of you that listen as well, regarding the audience that we've got for this podcast. But yeah, if I was a little bit better, I would absolutely love that idea. So that is pretty cool. And I think the idea that it's going to be 3 events this year as well, rather than just the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And they had some semi-finals in London as well. But yeah, 3 live events this time around sounds pretty good. So I think in general it's going to be pretty exciting. But there was one little issue, and this is the problem with esports. The way that it is expanded, with F1 being a little bit late to the party, they've kind of got to a tough legal position where they've put in the rules, if you're contracted to a professional esports team, you can't race. We're not sure if this is going to hold because there's been a lot of criticism, and I think that they might change this. But those rules, I would imagine, and this is just a hunch, but it's got a little bit of logic to it, is because if you're contracted to an esports team, technically the F1 teams would then have to buy this contract out if they wanted to race you. So it's a little bit tricky, isn't it, legally wise, the position that they've got themselves into there.
It is a bit. I think you also got to find the type of guys that are driving for these professional esports teams. So we know at the end of the esports, it was Fernando Alonso who basically made his own esports team, as it were, but it is kind of branded alongside an actual esports team. But yeah, that would rule out a big name straight away, which probably isn't great. And there's others as well that are being rumoured, not to, I believe, I can't really call it, but as far as I'm aware, the only professional one that I think Veloce maybe, but point still stands. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, really, for all those guys who want to compete now, because they're now, we drive for an esports team that's professional. Bit of a predicament. It's a bit of a shame. They should change it, to be honest. I don't think you shouldn't be able to represent. Obviously, you're representing an actual F1 team, but that's not. Even if F1 had to buy out the contracts for it, it wouldn't cost much. Let's be honest. Esports isn't massive, So, and these teams aren't particularly massive. I'm sure they'll find a way around it. You know, it is Formula One after all, and they have got a fair bit of money that they can throw out away. So yeah, it's not all bad, but yeah, I can see where the criticism's coming from.
Yeah, and I really hope that that is sorted out, because obviously it's unfair on those guys who've signed up to an esports team thinking this is really going to help me, and in the end it could actually end up holding them back. But as you said, I think it will be sorted out. But yeah, just one of the things that you don't think about when you set up an esports competition, which is rather interesting. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I enjoyed last year's, and to be honest, the racing is more exciting than actual Formula One. So that is quite good to see. Right, let's move on now into the real world of racing, and another bit now of talking about the structure of Formula One. Liberty Media have come along and they've released their proposals for 2021, but very, very vague proposals. From what I can see, there's not much detail in there, and but the general gist of it is bring prices down and make it fairer between the teams, which is something I think that we can all support.
Yeah, I definitely think that. That's the big thing, though, isn't it? Really, I mean, it's quite a generic step in the way that they've approached it. Yeah. You're right to say that. I mean, it's all good. Oh yeah, we'll bring budgets closer, we'll make teams closer, but we've heard that so often in the past. So, you know, not so much budget, because I think that is the key thing. If you're going to get the racing closer, it does need to be the budget that's adjusted. Because someone having so many add-ons because they're in Formula One for ages, again, Ferrari or Mercedes, these big manufacturers, of course, they're going to get a lot more money than not a work team, but a Williams, for example, or a Force India. They simply don't have the money to go and fight anymore, which is really disappointing. But hopefully these new plans, they can bring it closer. I'm not going to say it definitely will bring it closer, but I don't think that is the core reason. There is more than one reason why Formula One isn't as exciting as what it used to be.
Yep.
Money is one, but there are plenty of other reasons why F1 isn't as exciting as it was. So, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously we were speaking last time out, reviewing Australia, about our frustrations with the front wings getting worse and worse every year, and therefore Australia not having much overtaking in the engines and stuff. And these were vaguely touched on, as I said, by Liberty Media. So we assume that they're doing something about it, but you would hope at this stage that if you think about the 2014 regulations, they were set in stone a long way in advance. And if they want to make a really big change, I would have thought they would have had something concrete by now.
Maybe, yeah, but I think also, I mean, I'm not going to say throughout the course of the season they're going to elaborate on these ideas, but what they might, you know, we don't know what these guys are like. You know, this is their first full year in Formula. Well, it is kind of, well, no, second. Is it second year? It's now second year, I suppose. Yeah. Of the Liberty Group. So, yeah, hopefully we do get something set in stone, because it is from 2021. What we're really looking at here is after 2021, but. Yeah, they do need to get these ideas. We need to know more, because you're right. These are so vague. It's so, I mean, it's very generic. We can say these things, but if it's this generic, it can't be this generic. You know, we need to know a little bit more than, oh yeah, we're going to make the racing closer. Great. Okay. How? Like, we need that information. We can't just say it. So, yeah, let's hope that they actually bring some more, like, proper detail to us over the course of the year, because it is a massive year for Formula One, this one. So yeah, they do need to come with these ideas, and they need to be well explained, as it were.
With regards to the engines, obviously what they said, I can't actually remember exactly, I'm not going to bother bringing up the quote, but it was basically louder, simpler and cheaper, I think, were the 3 points they put. So I assume by that they're referencing to what the FIA previously said about standardising a few parts and taking off the MGU-H. I assume that they support the FIA's position on that. So I suppose we've got a little bit of detail there that they're still going with that. But that's only reading into it. They haven't actually explicitly said that. So I really hope that Liberty aren't all talk and no action. I was I was thinking today, yeah, really looking forward to this announcement. Plenty to think about and write about as well. But in the end, yeah, just not that much. But we will see how the teams receive it. I think that's going to be the main thing that we take out from this early stage. Okay, so that is that covered then. And let's move on now to Bahrain. And of course, it's Friday when we're recording this, which will be when it's uploaded as well. So we've had free practice, and also we've had qualifying for F2. And we'll start with that, obviously. And it was Lando Norris that has put it on pole position.
Oh, we've heard that name before, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
No, it was a pretty close qualifying. I mean, when you watch F2, even the qualifying was dramatic. Like F1, it is dramatic, but that was really close, actually. I was surprised at how close it was. But it's a debut F2 front row is what it is, because he's alongside George Russell, I'm pretty sure, on the front row. So that's good news for Brits across, well, just British racing in general. We're only one British driver in Formula One at the moment, Mr. Hamilton, of course. So hopefully this all changes. Hopefully these guys do get their chance in the big time. And yeah, it's a big effort from Norris, to be fair, because I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much to read into this, because F2 is always a really close and competitive field. So getting a pole position the first race of the year, massive, of course, but it just needs to, solidify. And he now needs to definitely take these wins. Just let's see how far he can go with it.
Yeah, obviously, as you say, really big for Britain, because as well, Hamilton's getting on now. He's not going to go on forever, although it does seem like he's getting younger, like Benjamin Button almost. It doesn't really seem to be aging. But yeah, he will be going eventually. So we need these drivers coming through, especially when you've got kind of a British Grand Prix that's in a little bit of limbo. I don't think that they'll lose it. But obviously, there is actually a contract that's being cancelled from Silverstone then. So it is important that these drivers are coming through. But yeah, I'm just going to play a clip now, because obviously we mentioned there Lando Norris. We actually had an interview with him back in January now, I think it was, and he was talking about his hopes for the season. And obviously what you're about to hear now is him talking about hopes not being quite as high as pole position in his first race.
Not sure basically on how it's going to go, because it's going to be quite a different challenge to kind of what I'm used to in the past. I'm going in with confidence, of course, with Carlin, but it's definitely going to be tricky, especially in the beginning of the season. We don't really know where we are at all compared to the other teams. So yeah, especially in the beginning, I think that's going to be quite tough. But just like last year, we definitely came on much stronger in the middle of the year, so that's kind of the aim again this year. In the end of the day, I want to win the championship, but I think once we've done the first few races, we know where we're actually at as a team, then it'll be much easier to say what the goal is for the season. Top 3, I think, is the aim for the moment. I think even if we don't start well and we end well, I think, top 3 is still the aim. And it's not a championship I have to go and win, or it's like McLaren want me to just go in and win. They want me to learn as much as I can and try to just gain as much experience as I can, kind of go about it in the way you would in Formula One, kind of giving the feedback a Formula One engineer would want. Just so if I had the opportunity to, I think, step into Formula One or in the next couple of years, I'm already on the level that I need to be, not again trying to work up at the end of the season.
So yeah, that is that, and so he'll be very happy with the pole then, talking about there being later on in the season where he's going to push on. So he'll be really impressed with that, and obviously George Russell, his main rival, as he was kind of expecting. But going back now to just F2 in general, Josh, who's normally on the podcast with us, he wrote something that I thought was very interesting. He said that no longer in F2 do you need these years of experience to do well. And someone like Norris and Russell, as they've proven, can come straight into the series and do really well. So do you think people maybe like Markelov this year will, and who has De Vries as well, will actually not really be challenging at the front, and it will just be these debutants?
May well be. I mean, he's probably right in a sense, because it's so close. It's probably based purely now on talent. I mean, it's very much how, if you like, Formula E is set up. It's very close, and there's no real winner straight off the bat. It's very good to see that. I mean, of course, last year was probably the most dominant F2 season ever. You know, I mean, Leclerc just bossed it. So, yeah, he's probably right in that sense. And people, you're right, like De Vries and De Vries, whatever, and Markelov. To be fair, Roberto Merri is back in F2 as well this year. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe experience, probably not as key. This is probably, for some of those guys, this has got to be their final chance, you know? I think after 2 years in F2, that's kind of it, you know? You're either getting in F1 or you're really not, you know? So probably is time for them guys maybe to think about winning the championship, just going for it. But at the moment, it's like Arden don't look particularly promising, has to be said, from what I saw from qualifying. They weren't amazing. So, yeah, let's just see. It's gonna be a big effort from those guys this year, though.
Yeah, I think I don't know personally. I'm not a massive follower of F2, to be honest. I kind of just see it whenever I kind of just run into it. I don't actively go and watch it in that sense. But I do know that generally the drivers aren't as strong as they were before. I would say you get these really good drivers that are coming through, but I don't think there's that great depth of talent, and that might be the case. Not just that experience isn't that crucial, but also maybe that there's other drivers that have been around for a while just aren't quite as good. And then when you've got a real talent like Norris and Russell coming through, they really shine. And Leclerc and Van Dorn and Gasly and Giovinazzi, people like that, they really shine because maybe there's just not that depth of talent as there is a few years back. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I kind of would agree with that. I kind of see where you're coming from in that sense. I mean, it's difficult. I think we can talk about the depth, you know, and how strong the field is, but what are we realistically looking at? I mean, these guys, of course, most of them, if they're in F2, their ultimate ambition is, of course, Formula 1. There simply isn't enough space for all these quality drivers. And to be honest, the only nation, it seems, without being biased, with the slightest bit of depth is Britain. So it does look like, I just kind of, this is probably where it comes back to the argument, are enough teams in Formula 1 and everything like that. I won't go too much in depth with it, but, you know, I would like to see more of these young guys coming through, because there is, to be honest, in my opinion, a lot of deadwood in Formula 1 at the moment. There is a fair few drivers that, you know, I guess can't really prove themselves because of regulation and the cars and everything, but a few of them just need to, you know, they need to consider what, it's all about the junior programs as well. You know, I mean, there's so many different factors as to what this depth kind of means, but, you know, there are probably, if they've got to F2, they're obviously very good drivers, but we need to now see them really rise the ranks to Formula 1, and you just don't see enough of them at the moment. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting because they're all coming from F3 now as well. That's the other thing, and a lot of it is purely financial. A lot of people from F2 recent years, apart from Leclerc, haven't had the seat in Formula 1 straight away. So Van Dorn didn't, Gasly didn't, you know? So, to be fair, Grosjean was probably another. He actually probably got in Formula 1 before then he did F2. So it's a bit, not really too sure what to say about it.
Yeah, and there were actually some drivers who didn't make it at all, like Davide Valsecchi and Fabio Lima, just never made it into Formula 1, which was pretty surprising. But yeah, with regards to the depths of talent, if you think I'm wrong, put it down in the comments. But from when I watched GP2 as it was then, a little bit further back, I just get the sense there were a few a few more drivers like Alex Lynn, Sam Bird, people like that. But I don't know, if you disagree, put it down in the comments, and maybe I'll be proven wrong in the feature race tomorrow. Maybe those guys will be able to challenge Norris and Russell, but we will see. That is certainly something to look out for. Now on to the main event then, and that of course is the F1. And practice today, just a quick run through of that. We had Ricciardo topping FP1, Bottas, Raikkonen, Vettel and Hamilton then making up the top 5. And FP2, it was a Ferrari 1 and 2, Raikkonen ahead of Vettel, then Mercedes 3 and 4, Bottas and Hamilton, and then Red Bull 5 and 6. From looking at that, this pace advantage that people have been talking about, including us, with regards to Mercedes, maybe was just something that was in Australia. Maybe in Bahrain, Ferrari are kind of on an equal footing. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I mean, there's been a lot of debating. Of course, we don't go to F1 races and everything, but you do hear an awful lot about this is like, it's just true though, in a sense. This is the first proper race this year. Like, this is a proper circuit. I'm not saying Melbourne isn't, but it's a street circuit, so we can't judge a lot of it. Now, Bahrain's a proper circuit, so seeing the pace that these guys have, I mean, FP1 and FP2, if you're going to read anything from it, it's race pace. You don't read natural pace and how quick they are on one lap. You know, you need to know this is their long term. What have they got for the race? This is the kind of strategy that they're looking at. So, in all due respect, if we're looking on that sense, this is very good news. You know, qualifying may be dominated tomorrow, but I don't really care. As long as the racing's very close, you know, if we do get maybe, you know, again, I would, because I think there's something there for Mercedes, but if their race pace isn't there, this could be one of them years that could be, I don't know, just quite worrying in many ways, I suppose. There's not been many years in Formula One where a team has dominated qualifying and then not really performed in races. And yeah, I'm not going to say Mercedes won't perform, but they, you know, on race pace alone, if we're going off FP1 and FP2 times, something needs to change quickly, because that isn't right that Ferrari are 1 and 2 at the moment. It's maybe, we'll see tomorrow, I think, in qualifying. It's probably too early to judge, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, and I think Kimi Raikkonen would definitely agree with that. In the press conference on Thursday, he was saying about, you just stop guessing. Just see what the results are and stop guessing. But it's all you can do at the beginning of the season, isn't it, when you've not got that much to go off. But yeah, we will see. Maybe Mercedes don't have the kind of pace advantage that we saw in Australia. Maybe they're able to turn it around from today. But certainly just going off FP2, which is obviously the main session with that's how the track conditions will be, Ferrari actually look pretty good. But having said all of that now, we need an actual prediction then. So who are we thinking?
The crystal ball is out. Qualifying or race? Because if it's qualifying,
both, yeah,
both. Should we do both? Right. Well, we'll do a top 3 from qualifying and a top 3 from race. Okay. I'm going to come straight out with it then. If I'm going to be honest, in qualifying, again, I'm not going to expect too much from anybody else but Mercedes. So, yeah, I'm going to be boring. Hamilton will get pole. I think Vettel, maybe Raikkonen on the front row, but probably Vettel. And third, I genuinely think will probably be someone like Bottas, just, you know, because he's got that extra boost. This is in qualifying terms, so I think we should go to James to see what he says about qualifying, and then we'll delve into the race.
Yeah, right. This is a tough one. Bottas was pole here last year, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say Bottas on pole again.
Ooh.
And I'm going to say Raikkonen in second, Hamilton in third. But it is quite hard to call. I'm going to go with that. That's quite a risky prediction, I think, for qualifying. But yeah,
we should have said of our prophecies, you know, not our predictions. We'll delve into that. But the race, we may as well go into that. If we look at race pace, it looks like it could be a Ferrari win. I would love to see Raikkonen win, if I'm honest, but after saying what I have in the qualifying wise, if he can win from any lower than third, that would be pretty mighty, to be honest. That would be, a big drive from Raikkonen to do that. Although he did manage to keep in that first stint, I felt like he'd get Hamilton honest in Australia. So there's no reason to say that he might not do that again, and he might win. I mean, anyone might win, but let's go for Kimi Raikkonen to win. In second, probably Hamilton. And in third, probably Vettel. I know it's probably a bit boring, but I just something about the Red Bull car it's not quite there yet. There's still time, and we always do this at the start of every year. Red Bull seem to, yes, this year we will go for the title.
Yeah.
It just you're not though, are you? You're just not quick enough at the moment, which is a real shame. But yeah, that's the way I'm going to view it. So, what are your top 3 predictions?
Yeah, I tend to agree with regards to Red Bull. They had a problem as well in Verstappen's car. He stopped in FP1, so that's not ideal. I'm not sure whether that was. He seems to think it was the turbo, so if that's a lost turbo, he's in trouble already for power units. But yeah, I'm tempted to say Raikkonen as well. He's had some really good results in the past round Bahrain. 2012, he almost won. This is recently.
2013, he's on the podium.
2013, yeah, and 2015, he was pretty close to the win there as well. So I agree. I think that Raikkonen might win it this weekend. It's been a heck of a long time since his last win. He hasn't won since he returned to Ferrari. So maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to win this one. And I would then say Hamilton second, Vettel third. But it is tough to call.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. But you're right, it is very tough to call.
Yeah.
Very tough.
So yeah, we've both been a bit boring there, haven't we? Really, we should have said, yeah, Alonso's going to win.
Yeah.
Really get the hype
Don't
train
expect
going.
that.
But yeah, I think I can't see. We both agreed basically on we can't see a Red Bull on the podium, not on pace. But yeah, I think we both kind of agree. Tough to call between the Mercedes, but we've got a thing for Raikkonen maybe. So yeah, that's it then. That is everything, and of course we will be back with the review for this race, and hopefully we'll try and see if Josh can come back for that one. I'm not sure why, but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to talk through that in big detail. And of course, if we get any comments over the weekend from Ferrari saying that they're going to leave the sport because of these new proposals or anything else, of course we will talk about that in the review as well. But thank you very much for listening to this one. As we said in the last episode, if you've watched and you've disagreed with anything I've said, or got any comments about any of the things, just pop it down in the comments. That would be fantastic. But until then, next time out, goodbye.